All right. Welcome to Gamers Unwind. Thank you so much for being here today. Hello, everybody out there on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and the other YouTube and even on Kick. We're out there on Kick. Thank you guys for being here. Gamers Unwind. This is our third episode of this show. If you've seen me on other shows, I'm on too many, and I like having fun and bringing people on to talk about video games and esports, and making sure that people are aware of what's going on in our industry and getting to know people. My big goal always is to get to know people. And today I am super honored because we have some amazing guests that I got to be one of these hundreds of people who got to review, where I feel totally unable to do what other professors and stuff would do. So I feel very honored, and I'm super honored today because the guest I just was made aware this is the first interview after the whole book that we're going to talk about today is being talked about on the show. So thank you guys for being in the chat. Appreciate you all the viewers here so far. Thank you so much. This will also be kept on all the channels that we're streaming on to watch as well again. But I'm going to bring in my guest today, Dr. Seth Ginny and Dr. Tobias Scholz. How are you, sirs?
Hello, Bubba. Thank you for the invitation. I'm doing well. How are you?
Superb. Toby, how are you?
Hello, everybody. Just fine.
So, Seth, you're in Pennsylvania, right?
Correct. North of Pittsburgh, yes.
And Toby, you're in Norway, right?
That's right, on the south spot of Norway.
The south spot of Norway. So when you take summer vacations, where do you go? Or family vacations or anything like that? What's up? Do you just travel around Europe whenever you want?
Yeah, my family's in Germany, so I'm going to Germany.
Are you from Germany originally?
Yeah.
Oh, Deutschsprecher, yeah? Okay.
Sounds good.
Ich spreche klein Deutsch. I lived there for about a month in Germany, in Berlin. It was a lot of fun. And South Germany, Stuttgart. All that stuff, fun stuff. Nice. in Bavaria. Loved it. Want to go back, and maybe visiting London here in the next few months. So, nice. At the College of Esports, yes. Hey, thank you guys for being in the chat. Kyle, welcome to the show. Hey, I'm so glad you guys are here because I want to talk about this amazing. How do I describe it as a book, or do I describe it as a masterpiece? I don't be humble.
I hate Routledge Handbook of Esports.
Routledge Handbook.
Handbook.
Okay.
It's a handbook.
Okay. Well, and so as a handbook, does that mean then it's so I think of a handbook, I think it's something I can carry around. I think it's something I can go to Norway or Germany with and get my language better and use it as a little dictionary. But what's the description? What's the reason for handbook?
Handbook is it's written more as a reference tool than it is for pick it up and read it cover to cover. However, some of the crazy esports enthusiast people will like us will read it cover to cover But it is more of, I'm interested in esports marketing or esports health and wellness, and I'm going to go to that chapter and learn about it. And each of the chapters are meant to be primarily standalone chapters on that specific topic relating to esports.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can carry it around, but you will get some muscles by carrying it around.
Okay, so it's a little heavier. It's a little bigger.
It's 61 chapters. It will be when it's done. So it will be over our word count requirement from Routledge is we're supposed to keep it under 305,000 words.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Wow. All right. Stephen Reed in the chat says hello. What's up, Stephen Reed? Glad you're here. We need your expertise as well. Man. Okay. Well, that's great. Let's see. Michelle King, PhD. Great guest today. You have some rock stars, Seth and Toby.
One of the authors.
Okay.
Michelle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, did I have her on? I need to add her to the tweet. I guess I didn't get everybody right. There's a lot of people. So let's break that down here. There's a lot of people involved with this handbook. And to walk me through the levels of involvement from who, and then like all the way down to me, who has just got an email that's saying, "Hey, Bubba, does this look right?" I was like, yeah, sure. Because I know things. Like, walk me through that whole system.
So this, I guess, how this whole project started. I did a book review for a Routledge editor on a different esports book, and the level of detail that I provided that editor from Routledge, he contacted me and said, "Hey, we're looking for somebody to lead a project on our handbook series for esports." Okay. They have, if you do Routledge Handbook Google search, you'll see a lot of different handbooks that they have, and past books. They, especially within esports, they focus on a specific part of esports business, esports medicine, collegiate esports. They're very focused. This is a 30,000-foot overview of the topic, of all of the different aspects of esports. And so I said, yes, I'm interested in leading that. I contacted so the other editors, obviously, Toby here is what I would consider the godfather of esports research. All right. He's one of the editors. We have Amanda Cote, who was formerly from University of Oregon. She is now at Michigan State. She's sort of the communications and media expert on the project. Toby is all esports, but particularly business. Nicolas Besombes from France. I'm sure I murdered his last name. He's more of the social scientist. There you go. He's one of the editors. Anytime if you ever trying to include a graphic or a figure related to esports, you probably have used one of his. He's a master at visualizing and making graphics for esports data and research. And then Tom Brock from Manchester, England, is also one of the editors. And so as a team, we met 6 different Zoom calls alone just to determine what was the content and the outline of the book. So we spent probably 10 hours as a group just discussing what would be in it and what would be the chapters, which is we're detail oriented for sure. And then from there we had the Esports Research Network annual conference in Sweden, where we wanted to open up feedback from the esports research community on what should be involved in the book as well. How does our outline look, as well as gain interest from people who would be interested in authoring a chapter or peer reviewing a chapter or both. And we created a Google form. Right now, I think we are at maybe 150 responses in that Google form for people that are interested in being involved in the project. But I know I'm giving you a long answer for a short question. but we so far the project finished with 93 different authors.
Wow.
And
Wow.
we sent each 60. Well, we sent the majority of the chapters have been sent out for peer review. We've sent them out to 5 different peer reviewers per chapter, and so we're at over 270 people that were sent chapters. Obviously, not everybody responded, but we're at around I think 145.
That's amazing.
Reviewers have responded, and so we definitely didn't want to. We wanted feedback from others, and we didn't want to be like the 5 looking down saying this is what this handbook should be. We wanted to involve the community. Toby, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, Toby, please.
Yeah, I mean, you see how detail-oriented Seth is. He has this huge spreadsheet where all the information's are in there. It's like my first project where I'm normally more the detail-oriented person, but Seth is going crazy about that. But it's crazy to see as well, because we have the information, and it's so interesting to see, and we get later on it where they are from and all of that. But the important part is really we are in esports at a place where we need to have this broad overview. It's the same with sports, that we have to have some place where we know what's happening there. Because at the same time, nearly every chapter there could be an own book. And that is the interesting part. And that's the part we envisioned with the book, that if you want to know something about esports, there is a place for that.
Love that. So that's I love that it's a handbook, and there's some funny stuff in the chat. I want to ask. There's some stuff in the chat. It's very active right now, and over on YouTube, Musashi M says, "No, you pronounce Nico's last name right." So, and he yeah. So I guess we got approval. I guess we got it right. And then my buddy Kyle, he says 305,000 words in a handbook. That's a tomb from Hogwarts restricted section.
Yeah, there we go. Look. Yeah.
There we go. Hogwarts. I love it. Yeah. Musashi M. He's got a question. There's another good question from Edward Tobias. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm not sure. I think you guys may know them. Edward on LinkedIn says, I would love to understand the doctor's in-field esports experience, and or if this handbook is simply a collection of esport aspects you've collected and you're just editing into one. But you kind of answered a little bit of that with what's available. But yeah, break that down for me.
It might be best to show the slide with all of the chapters listed, and then we can discuss
certainly
the different aspects of it. So we tried to identify the leading experts that were interested in writing a chapter, to have them write those chapters. Certainly we're biased by the book being in English, so we don't want to say that there's other great research and writing done in other languages, but I'm American. It's the only language I know. I had 3 years of high school Spanish, but I'm a little bit lacking in being able to write in Spanish. So here are the major sections of the book. So this book is also, we want discussions to get going on certain things, and these are starting points, such as in the introduction, we have a chapter defining and spelling esports. All right. No matter what we write in that chapter, there's going to be people to say that definition is wrong.
I got to review that one, by the way. Thank you for letting me, because I used to be a big stickler.
Well, go ahead. Let's hear. What did you think of the chapter?
So I thought the chapter, what I remember writing on my feedback was like, thanks for explaining a little bit of history. As I've always said, like that esports, the term came out in the early 2000s, which you put, late 90s, early 2000s, which I love, the StarCraft kind of push. But I love that you broke down why we're here, where we are a little bit. And yes, what we've all messed with is esports. The only thing that I would add, like in a feeling that doesn't need to be in this book, is I heard John Davidson from Esports Trade Association. One time we had a big coalition of people sitting down from all aspects of the esports industry and education professional, and he said, we need to give some grace to people who spell it or write it incorrectly. And I'm like, oh yeah, I should give grace.
That right there is writing it incorrectly. It's like me saying that people in Britain drive on the wrong side of the road. I mean, you can't say both at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I think,
always remember Caspar wrote it small e, that thingy, big S. So
who did? Who's this?
Caspar, the Korean Esports Association. For a long time.
Yeah. With a little accent before the S.
Yeah.
I don't think not the dash, but an accent.
The
dash.
The hyphen.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Gotcha.
So in that chapter, we cover what's the research of what the different regions of the world which spell it, and the way that things are moving in relation to the spelling. But we talk about, and we operationally define, okay, in this handbook, this is the way we spell it. And in this handbook, this is the way we're defining it. However, other people have different interpretations. So it's very open-ended. But as you can see, that whole first section sort of tries to lay the groundwork for esports, talking about a global history of it, the ecosystem and stakeholders, the genres in games. That is another contentious, people have strong opinions about what are the genres and which games fall under what. And we try to provide as much background information as to how these were developed.
Let's ask the chat. What do you think is not an esport? Go ahead and put in the chat. What is not in this what is not an esport?
Well, that's covered in the defining esports of speed running is a common one of whether that is or is not esports, and we talk about whether it has to be synchronous or asynchronous competition, meaning human versus human at the same time, or human versus human against AI not at the same time. And when people really think about traditional sport, I mean, a lot of people would say bowling is a sport or track and field is a sport, but that's asynchronous competition. There's a high jump bar and people are running up and seeing how high they can jump, but they're not doing it at the same time as the other jumpers.
Wow. Okay. Huh.
You know what I mean? So I don't know why people are always into this whole has to be synchronous competition when
that's a good point.
So many different sports that's asynchronous competition.
Sorry.
Did I just blow your mind, Pablo?
Yeah. So now even on YouTube, Musashi says, I've had classes with both Seth and Nico, so I know this question is a trap. So like when it comes to writing, and to be clear, if you look here, and Ed on LinkedIn, if you look here, there's a capital E in all these things because it's in the title. But yeah, throughout the book, the team does explain that we're not writing it with the lowercase e, capital S, or a dash, or e-gaming, because that'll make you throw up. So yes, to most of us, but to your thought, so wrestling individual. So a high jump, you wouldn't consider sport, but running against.
No, it is a sport. I'm just saying that people look at track and athletics. Track and field is a sport, but there's a lot of events that is, pole vault, shot put, high jump, long jump, all these events that you're not at the same time competing against someone else, against the environment. It is each person takes their turn, just like speed running.
Speed running. That's what I was gonna say. Speed running has to be.
As we make the correlation to speed running is okay. That's a human against the software, and they are competing against other humans, but just not at the exact same time.
Yeah. Toby,
and that's the important part where, for me personally, Race to World First is my go-to esports, and you can have a huge debate about it. Is Race to World First in World of Warcraft and esports? I definitely yes, because you have this asynchronous in a weird way where like, yeah, you are fighting against dragons, and because you are the first with the dragon, you are the winner.
Oh, okay. You know, that's why I love about you guys. I remember Seth. It was you and William Collis and somebody else debated the Newzoo guys.
Joseph on.
Yeah, and debated the Newzoo guys about $1 billion versus $24 billion industry. And I absolutely love that the way the analytical and like research approach to it that you guys do. It's very much appreciated because on all my documents I put the 24 billion. And I resource your graph and everything on all of our stuff on the foundation. So I appreciate that. and Toby,
yeah, and fun story
yeah,
also today news about what was it? Asia 10 billion in the first half of the year
for esports.
Revenue, yeah,
for revenue in esports.
Oh, let's find this. Oh yeah,
there's still a lot of people that say that the industry is worth 1 billion, but honestly that comes back to defining esports. It's like exactly. what's the gaming revenue versus what's esports revenue. And
yeah, if you got that link,
while you're looking that up,
chat, yeah.
I think another unique aspect of this handbook is that there's not a lot of information out there for people conducting esports research and on what's recommended for that. And so we have a whole section on esports research for PhD students, master's students, undergrad students, and then other types of academics and even industry that are interested in some recommendations from people who have conducted esports research in what you might do from varying types of research in there. We have a esports research network, which is a global group of esports scholars that Toby started that group. Thanks, Toby. We get a lot of questions in the Discord about things. And I'm like, hey, that answer to your question is in this handbook. It's just not published yet. It seems like a broken record when it comes to that. For example, what journal should I look at to try to get my esports research published in? Well, we have a whole chapter which we catalog all these different journals that we'd recommend you look closer at based upon what your topic is.
Interesting.
Toby, you want to talk about the next two sections, the players and the business?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sure. So as we all know, esports is a business, but the part is what we wanted to focus on is really the idea that the players are in the focus and that the players are esports. And that's always the part we wanted to highlight. But also like the idea when you look at it, for sure, performance skills, analytics, coaching, psychology, all of those topics are more for the professional aspect, but we also wanted to highlight there is more than just the pro players. I mean, that's again definition. Most of the definitions are looking like the NFL and nothing else. But we know esports is a community, grassroots and everything. So we have parental and family support and also the idea of player and career process, where we and we have some great offers for that, where it's all about the idea that, yes, you may become pro, but there are so many other opportunities, and we have to have there a transparent discussion about what happens afterwards, because not everybody will be a faker and will have enough money afterwards or become part of T1.
Can you tell the audience who Faker is, by the way?
Faker, just the GOAT of League of Legends, the best player of all time. Maybe I get flamed about that, but he plays League of Legends for T1 in South Korea and is the only player who has 3 Worlds titles, if I remember it correctly. Wow. So you can compare to Michael Jordan or Messi. And for sure, Michael Jordan and Messi have also enough money for all eternity. But that's the part where it's like 20 people normally in esports in a title who never ever have to work again. But same for sports, we don't have a plan B afterwards. and that's something we wanted to highlight there as well. So you also see, like, we want to show in the handbook that there is a lot of stuff we have to discuss in esports. Later on, sustainability, but all of esports is about sustainability, and that's the part where also in the esports business and management, a lot of economical sustainability is in there. Talking about how to do your businesses, how to do your venue design, also quite interesting, because in the end we want to do it physically. Tourism, also a topic that became more popularity in recent times, but it's also the part, how do you calculate this success? I think League of Legends or Riot did it for an LCS event, saying how much money the city made.
Right, economic impact,
but that's the part, what does that actually mean? Who does get the money and all? So that's the part we also discussed. The part about sponsorship and public relations. There is a difference, and that is important to highlight. And for sure, my highlight topic, as my background is in human resource management, esports human resources. That means human resource in esports, which is, be frank, terrible. If you look how many people are fired in the recent months, but also human resources in the traditional world using esports. And that's also quite interesting topic.
Yeah, the economic impact. I was just trying to find. I'm sorry, I'm messing with the screen. Trying to find this event I went into, been helped out with for college esports in May, and they did economic impact, because obviously there's economic impact from Esports Software Association that put some stuff out 2019 that I kind of
there's a lot of people also that try to estimate the economic impact of adding a varsity esports team to a university, and how much money or enrollment or retention. That, I mean, there's so many variables that it's really difficult to pinpoint an accurate answer to that.
Yeah, we've done. I'll have to find it. I know we've done one for the college event at the Esports Arlington Stadium. But yeah, that and someone who came from working in tourism. The whole reason I'm in esports is because I worked in tourism before, and it was always funny to when I got in this space, was there's no RFP process for requesting esport large tournaments to come to your town to use your big arenas, because it's just not, like you said, human resources. All this sort of stuff we struggle with because we're babies in this industry. So yeah, I really appreciate this. And so when we look at all this stuff, so we're now looking at esports, media, communication, education. My love, obviously. Break these down for me a little bit.
Sure. So I think Toby made a good point. And these chapters they're supposed to be written with practical applications for people that want to implement ideas, evidence-based, empirically based research ideas into their practice. And so when through the peer review process, through the editors giving feedback, through talking to the authors before they even started writing, that is some of the major aspects that we wanted to make sure that they bring in. What's the current research relating to the topic, but also what are some practical recommendations people can implement. And so, like, even for in the media and communications, we have a awesome esports journalist who wrote, which everybody on this call has probably heard of the person who wrote this. They are giving practical recommendations for other journalists, but also they are talking about, hey, here's some major issues in esports journalism right now, and they're keeping it real. Production and streaming, same thing. There's not a lot of good research-based literature on that. I mean, these chapters, a lot of times they were relying on past experience to talk to in the chapter, how do you do those things? So in the education, same thing. We cover the competitive teams at the collegiate level, as well as the primary, secondary level. And then we talk about curriculum development and teaching esports from the primary, secondary up to the higher ed level. And then all of those major critical concerns within esports, you can see those different topics: toxicity, ethics and cheating, gambling, some of the major contentious issues, to what extent esports has been included in the Olympics. A lot of these were difficult to try to keep them within a 5,000 word limit, which was a major issue. And that includes your reference list as well. So a lot of the editing is, hey, this is, it really forces the authors to only discuss what is the most important, pertinent thing within 5,000 words. And then the global cultures, which also, when we finalized our outline and we sent it back to Routledge, they send it to blind reviewers, our proposal. Some of the feedback we got from the review process was, this can't be done. That was one of the reviewers was saying that, it's way too ambitious and we don't think that it can be done. And we got a fair number of criticisms related to our having the esports culture section. They said, you can't discuss that. And, I think the authors did an awesome job. Obviously, we're going to have people that are going to criticize certain aspects of the book. And I'm fine with that. I mean, if you've submitted articles to journals, then you're used to being told that you suck. You just, repackage it and send it somewhere else and take the learnings that you learned from that first review. So, Toby, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I mean, it's something as well where we also have to say, okay, in esports, we don't know the right way. So that is something we always have to keep in mind. And that's just the idea where people will say that is not how you should do it, but nobody can tell you how you should do it. But that's the part where, especially with the critical concerns, it's something where we have to have the discussion and we have to have those topics. And that's also the part where, dropping a hint for the esports journalism as well, there is a critical perspective on it. I mean, we are doing that for 25 years. I started out as a journalist in esports and I quit it because there is no money to make. And that was 20 years ago and nothing changed. And that is the part where we also want to highlight, like in all of those topics, especially esports environmental sustainability, we need to do something. And this cannot be the idea where, okay, we are traveling less because there is no data how much terrible stuff we are doing by just playing. What is with the data farms? What is with the server centers and all? There are no numbers, and that's the part where we have to have this discussion. And also the part with esports culture, I'm really happy about that because we have those perspectives from people there. For sure, we all can tell some stories about Asia.
Sure.
From my side, mostly South Korea, but having that perspective told by people from there, we can have a good perspective on it. And that's the part where Africa will be super interesting in the future. Mobile esports and all of those topics, and having that in the book is, amazing.
I'd love to dig into esports education, and Ed in chat, I mean, he's got some opinions about things that I'd love to talk more about, because the education side, for those who aren't in it, there is a lack of understanding what's deep. Even for me, like esports education, like sometimes when we've been in meetings together, Seth, I'm like, hey, did you know about this thing happening? And because I get to be this nonprofit that gets to get in doors that a lot of people don't get to be in, and so like the esports education one, it makes me like excited. Plus, I just helped finish 2 books with Mike and Christy at Generation Esports, and help write that curriculum. So it's just exciting. It's on my mind. But you mentioned journalism too, Seth, and yeah, I remember I was 2 years ago. I was like a witness for some stuff that that journalist you're talking about. He needed that information so he could write a big article about what's happening wrong in our space. So
yeah,
definitely.
And I guess we can mention names because they've the chapters that have gone through the peer review, because it is a blind peer review process. That's Jacob Wolf is he wrote the esports journalism. Miles Harvey, who's a leader in primary, secondary school esports programs, he wrote that chapter. We have
so Jacob wrote the journalism chapter?
Jacob Wolf wrote that, and we sent, and it was peer reviewed by some other big name journalists in there as well.
That's helpful.
That was my dream candidate for that chapter.
And even like the esports players chapter, we paired an academic with a former pro player to help write that chapter. And I'll let Toby pronounce his name.
Yeah, also, okay, my fanboy moment, greatest player for me in StarCraft, Dario Wünsch, TLO.
Okay, one more time.
Dario Wünsch, TLO, the little one.
Okay, all right.
Former StarCraft 2 player, co-wrote that chapter with esports academic.
Okay.
Anybody in the chat who doesn't know him, Google him, check it out. He was one of the pros who was playing StarCraft at the beginning like random. He didn't pick a race, and that was really impressive.
Yeah. So
that's with He Jung Hong is the lead author on that from Stirling University in the UK.
So in these sections, in some of these specific chapters, you've got experts from the Miles Harvey in the education, huge win for the education section. Okay, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, so we got GamerDoc who wrote the health and wellness chapter. Great. We have Kate McGee writing the ergonomics and injuries chapter, and with Kevin Ho. I mean, we have a lot of big names in there. But,
I do remember all those names when you first announced this book. I do remember that, and I was very impressed then, getting these people involved to help write that. So that is very much and to help understand reshape this thought. This is a kind of think of a handbook more as I understand what you're talking about. I'm hearing this kind of catch-all of information where you can reference, not the only 5,000 words. It sounds like, or words, I guess words, right?
5,000 words per chapter. Estimate is what Routledge has given us. Graham Ashton from Riot Games wrote the Esports Developers Publishers Game Design chapter.
Yeah.
So we tried to get people from industry as well as academia.
So I appreciate that as this reference, because I look at other books I have here, like A Parent's Guide to Gamers from the guys at I can't remember the name. Love Thy Nerd, and then Coach Alney, 100 Jobs in Esports, and William Collis's book, The Book of Esports, and then I've got them around here somewhere. But these books that are references, even the law book that Jacob wrote, not the Jacob. So I do appreciate this. Good questions here from in the chat as well. How would you feel the handbook would help an esports EDU program? Or let's say we're teaching a esports class. Would this be a helpful addition to your syllabus?
Yeah. So I teach, we have an esports undergraduate minor at Slippery Rock. And this book could be used as in an introduction to esports class for sure. You would have to pick and choose as to what chapters you feel would be most relevant. I don't know about you requiring the whole book. You might get some ticked off students to read 61 chapters in there. So that would be one component of it. And then certainly you could choose any section of the handbook. And if you have a class that's focused on health and wellness, you could in performance, you could utilize the esports players section. You could, any type of esports business and marketing type of curriculum could utilize the section 4 from the esports business and management. It could be used that, and any student who is conducting esports research could definitely use the esports research section to help cite information, justify why they are doing certain methods a certain way based upon recommendations in the handbook. Yeah,
Well,
it definitely can be used.
And this kind of goes
each chapter has discussion questions
okay.
with the chapter as well that could be used for an online discussion board or face-to-face discussions as well.
And that goes to the question in your chat from David, like how does he access it? And then I'm looking at, I put the routledgehandbooks.com, so I'm guessing it's going to be on that website soon, or people can add it. Go ahead.
March 2024 is the estimated release date.
Do you feel how much would change? That's a question I think somebody asked, like how much would change that do you from now to then that you need any?
It's always difficult. When I wrote my esports as business book in 2019, I had an outlook with I don't know what it was, but and that publisher was quick. I handed in my script, and 2 months later, that publisher printed it. Something in the conclusion was outdated. So it's still something where we are in an industry that can move fast, but it also can move really slow. So probably some parts will be outdated at the point when we are releasing it, but other parts are like written rules or unwritten rules of esports. The idea of how you do sponsorship will not change that much. The cases maybe, but we will have or take ethics and cheating. They are general. Maybe the details, how people are cheating, may change, but everything else is not changing. And that's the part where, at least from my perspective, and Seth maybe can also join in on that, with our viewpoint on the high horizon, most of the authors are giving the reader an overview, and also the possibility to dig deeper with further reading ideas and all of that. But in the end, it's an introduction. And some of the people are giving a really, really thorough introduction, but it's still something where it's a starting point. And we saw it with the discussion with some of us where like, now you fixed us, we need to write a whole book about it. And that's the part where it's a starting point, and it also shows that esports is nowadays a complex topic.
Right.
I would say, when you think about some of the different chapters, the first couple paragraphs might be discussing a few statistics and figures relating to that topic, but then it goes into concepts. And so all those concepts that are discussed is not going to change. Some of the, what's the industry worth, or what % of people are experiencing toxicity and harassment, things like that. Like the statistics will change, but the fact that people, recommendations for overcoming toxicity and increasing diversity and inclusion, like those concepts discussed in those chapters, are going to sustain beyond the publication date.
Well, this because the document you gave me, like how's the chapter, you guys are talking about this right now, and the content, the research bites, I think is kind of what you mentioned, the little bit of information. In each chapter, we required what's called a research bite, which is sort of like a practical example related to the topic. I'd say more than half of the chapters did an interview with someone in industry relating to their topic, a short question and answer, which is great. And then other people might have used a case example that really hit home some of the concepts relating to their topic. As an industry example, and we don't, this is not something, it's supposed to be written for people who don't even know much about esports. So that's great. I can't, you can see the way I talk. I'm not somebody who's going to be using all these words that people don't understand. We're trying to make it at a level that anybody can understand the content. And that's what some of the research bites do, is that they try to relate it to industry, and it's not this ivory tower, here's all the theory and research, but nobody actually knows what anything means. This is these concepts and how they can be applied within actual practice. So a handbook, a reference, an on-ramp, I feel like definitely for us uber deep into esports, there's things that you want to cover, but you only have 5,000 words, but you have a lot of information. So this is a really good it's a really good example of the on-ramp, I feel like, and being able to reference it for classes or reference it for, I know we all have, I've had many conversations where I spent the first 25 minutes of a 30-minute phone call explaining esports. So this is why we, my foundation, me and Connor only, we created videos to explain things so we could, hey, watch these videos, then we'll talk, right? So I appreciate that. Okay.
The other unique aspect of it is there's chapters in there that they don't exist elsewhere that I've seen, such as the chapter on esports for people with disabilities, or player support from a family perspective. Those types of chapters, the career process of an esports player. There are not academic papers out there, really, not too many of them, that puts it all into one place. And then, as I mentioned, there's hardly anything related to esports research that's been published.
You're right, because there's the research. I believe you're right on that, because we have orgs, we have organizations, diversity, equity, inclusion. Women in Gaming International, Game Hers, Queer Women Esports. So we've got this side. We've got community. We've got Black gamers. Like we have that are orgs, but research. And I even think about another org, even for gambling, the Esports Integrity Commission or Coalition, whatever they changed their name to.
Yeah, there's some good white papers out there and handbooks, and so I definitely don't want to discount that. And those ones are likely that they're listed in our recommended further reading that we have at the end of each chapter, those types of things.
But even the Esports of Disability is Steve with Able Gamers. Like that's, I mean, does he have the ability, time to do the research? I don't know, because he's doing so much with his org to help so many people. And I think you're right. There's not enough out there. There's not enough out there for everything we have, but you're definitely hitting the nail on the head with inclusion. Toby, when you said your focus though was more, you had more South Korea focus, that you seem to be a lover of South Korean esports. Is that, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, naturally. I mean, I'm a StarCraft player, and so you always look to Korea, and I was always a bit lucky with the idea that early in my career, I had the chance to talk with those people and having a perspective on that. But it's the part where also like the idea, if we are talking about the esports ecosystem and all, it's super interesting to talk about with Koreans about South Korea when they are saying, okay, we hit the ceiling, we are not growing anymore. And everybody else out of Europe says, oh my God, we need to be South Korea because sky is the limit. And it's the part where all of those discussions are really super interesting and relevant to have, where like people are often looking to an example which may not be fitting for them.
I love that. So as we start wrapping up here, I got the maps pulled up, and I love that you reference this map. So I've got three here. I've got author regions, and then you broke it down next into
so this is the first one is the map, the regions, and this is where the 93 authors come from. You can see a little over a third are from North America, that including Canada and the US, and then from Europe, the majority, 63%. Remember, we were limited to the English language, but we were really proud to have South America represented, Oceania represented, Asia represented, and then Middle East and Africa. And if you go to the next slide, it breaks it down further to the which countries those authors come from.
The 24% there in Europe. What's countries that is that?
Yeah, so if you go to the next slide.
Okay. Oh, you do. You have the breakdown.
Is a further breakdown to Europe. Yep. So there's the European breakdown.
France, Spain, Germany, so 14. And so, Toby, are you up in the 7 there, or are you in the Germany? Which one are you in here?
I'm there still in the Germany one.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, we probably need to. He switched over to Norway looking for the Infinity Stone. I don't know if he found it yet, but
I found at least a Viking village, and I live in a Viking village. So.
Are you guys, just to think, is anybody excited about the season 2 Loki, or am I alone?
Oh yeah, sure,
absolutely.
Okay, all right. So, all right. Okay. Back to the book. Because we can go talk another hour for that. But you said you're in northern Norway, or
southern Norway?
Okay, so you're close to Germany. Okay, I got it. All right.
Yeah,
makes sense. Okay, I like that.
I'd love to take Q&A. If I don't have the chat pulled up, but if there's any questions,
you guys drop any other questions in the chat. We've had some good comments, and there's been some ideas put out, which I think is a fun conversation. I'd love to have the conversation sometime. I think it was, which part was it? It was, I'll find it, but diving into the article from China, like why people are thinking of questions. This article from China today about the 10 billion. I'm going to pull it up here. Which I read through here. I've just perused it, but it said back in 2022 they had so many billions. They had 21 billion in all of 2022. So, and then they're talking about made up game sales. So when I think about your original 24 billion, game sales was in there. I can't remember in that graphic, to be honest, from the one you debated Newzoo with.
Yeah, I don't recall. I'd have to look that up.
I got it. I'll pull it up. But I mean, to that point, like, China generated esports revenue. So then, the debate is what's broken down into esports, what game, which, hey, if you guys in spring of 2024, you'll get to go through an amazing handbook from these amazing authors and be able to understand a little more of what esports is. Oh, here it is right here. Got it. So this is so the foundation, we have this big, you may have seen this, but we have a big research deck that has all this fun information and everything. What is esports and why and whatnot. But we use your International Journal of Esports stuff. So game publishers, so I look at that.
Yeah, they control the industry for sure. And
what? No.
Economically and legally. Proprietary.
So then how would you see, so you brought this up, Toby, with this article today. If that much revenue is being generated in esports, Danny Martin, I took a really good class with him and Ryan Morrison at the Southern University Law Center, Chris Turner's thing, and he was talking about how I almost lost my thought, but it was Ryan and Danny. So Danny was talking about the surge of esports that we called the boom, or this big esports golden age, and then now they're calling it this winter. But that's just, when I think about that, and what they talked about was this winter in esports is more of the VCs and the big money. So big money's maybe not going in, and we're seeing a lot of layoffs and a lot of tech in esports. But then esports is grassroots, and so it's not dying. I mean, grassroots and all the gaming that's happening is increasing. So this winter we're in is really a definitive of big money, I think. But I don't know if you guys have any opinions on how esports, and maybe that's the last article, or last chapter there, the future of esports.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something where it's all about sustainable business models. Because in the end, if we look at the whole history of esports, the model never changed. You get sponsorship money, you get VC money, and you can really correlate the growth of esports, be it in the early 2000s, be it 2012 until 2019, how VCs were able or not able to put money into a bank account and get money out of it. And that is the part where it was easy to get money. And if I talk, or I did talk with a lot of professional esports organizations, they actually said like, okay, I say esports and someone put them $1 million in their hands. And that is the part where we have this struggle where we never, or most of it never thought about how to create a sustainable business model. And if we look at sports, also not a really sustainable business model if you look outside of the NFL and other sports. But there's the government who is giving money. There is video rights who's giving money. So it is a bit more diversified. Not better, but a bit more diversified. And that's the part where if we look at the last 10 years, esports went the road to be a sport. A whole different discussion, but they created the business model around it, trying to mimic sports, but only on sponsorship monies and venture capitalist funds. So only two parts. And that is the part where most of the teams also forgot there is a grassroots. Think about the Overwatch League. No fans, no industry, no league. And that is the part where this esports winter, as you said, doesn't mean anything to esports. This will grow, be it from the regional perspective, be it the idea that more and more companies are using esports as some company esports team thingy. So all of them are playing. The numbers of gamers are growing. But the professional teams are still stuck in their loophole with a weird business model, and that is the part that they have to rethink. And esports is entertainment, esports is media, esports can be innovative, but in the last 10 years the professional esports scene was not innovative at all.
Yeah, I love that take on it, which you talked about so many years back. I'm in the chat, your esports yearbook I've got pulled up, and you and Julia Christopher wrote quite a few things, but I look at this from 2009, I just like, did we dress like that really? But then at the same time, like, this has been happening for so long, and so many people who jumped in 2019 before COVID to esports on that big push. It's been around for a long time, and what I appreciate is this yearbook you've got that goes back, and you are doing a call for papers on this, right?
Yeah, so that's a project. Then Julia Christophers, now Julia Hilscher, long friend of mine. We started in 2004 a journal, a magazine for journalism. Didn't work out, but at some point we said, okay, we need to do something. And a similar idea where like, okay, we are the university and we cannot quote anything. So we started that with the idea, okay, we have something, it's open access, you can quote it. And it moved into the direction more and more like enabling students to write. Or most of the students nowadays are writing their bachelor thesis on esports or a master thesis on esports. And we want to give them space to publish that. And it's quite fun to see when a little bachelor student is quoted in a big professor journal. Always makes my heart explode. But yeah, we are looking for students who want to submit something. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. We are always looking for a chance to give them a space to publish their work. I mean, we all know how much time you spend for a thesis, and only 2 people are reading it, maybe mother or father. You have 4, but there are often really good stuff out there.
And Julia is one of the authors of the environmental sustainability chapter in the handbook too. Okay,
I love that. Well, as we wrap up here, just one quick look again at this table of contents. How do I get my hands early on the esports education section, Seth, to look at it? That's the thing I could do?
We are going through the peer review process on that one. That one's not finalized yet.
You need another peer?
Potentially, we'll see.
That's a good
The-
marketing deal for next time. You can have a
Yes.
sneak peek, but you have to review.
That's good.
For the March 2024,
Mhm.
it will be published initially in soft cover as well as an ebook. I'm sorry,
Okay.
hardcover and then an ebook, and
Okay.
then later it will be a soft cover with a little, less expensive.
Mhm.
The publishing model that Routledge uses. So, we will definitely be active on social media as that time approaches, and you can follow us on LinkedIn or Twitter.
You can get your library to request this book, right? Usually the
Yes,
library can
for
buy
sure.
stuff. I know they did that.
That is one of the big ways that people access these handbooks
Mm-hmm.
is through having your institutional
Mhm.
library purchase it,
And they're still
either the
they're still
digital
buying
the
it.
digital form or the hard copy.
Okay, I love that. Thank you guys so much for coming today to talk about it. There's a lot of fun stuff in the chat. On YouTube, Musashi is asking about how it works in education over the world, educational, because it is quite confusing. We have got schools in America that slap an E on a communication course and call it esports, and then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got deep dives into stuff and really experts. So it's different. And then I think even over in the United Kingdom or Europe or whatever, there's different styles, because also the American school system is just weird and crazy. And anyways, I won't dive into that. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we're so much smart. We're smart good. So I want to go for another hour, but I know we want to finish up at time. I'm going to give you guys the last moment here, last 60 seconds. Anything you want to talk about, just throw it out. Toby, why don't you go first? Use 60 seconds. Anything you want to talk about? Anything where people can find you, just reiterate whatever you want.
So you can find me everywhere, nearly on every social media, but also would like to express that idea. The great part about esports is nobody said how to do it, and we should get back to the idea then to just try new stuff, new ideas. I get a feeling that we are a bit stuck, but that's something where we can just do stuff.
Love it.
I'll add on to that. I just want to show our appreciation to all the authors and the reviewers for your contributions toward the handbook. Definitely wouldn't be able to do it without all of your help and hard work, and people have put in 10 hours into it. And so we're really happy with the way that things are moving with the project. And it's funny because a lot of the authors that submit their chapters, they'll say, hey, I'm really happy with the way this turned out. Thank you to the peer reviewers, to the editors for your feedback. And then they'll say, and I'm really looking forward to reading the other chapters because them writing their chapter got them excited about the whole project and really stimulates their interest to seeing the rest of it. So we're excited in the same way.
Thank you guys so much for giving me the opportunity to dive into this with you and get this exclusive look before it comes out. And I'm super excited for it. I want to eat every word of that, and I just want to take it all in. And so I'm sad I have to wait, but I super appreciate the time you guys spent here today. And let's keep chatting. Let's keep promoting this. And the foundation, the Video Games and Esports Foundation, we are going to be adding it to our resource list and adding it to our documents. So it's needed. So thank you for doing this work and getting all these people involved. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Thanks, Bubba.
All right. Well, you guys can stick around the control room. I'm going to shut down the show and I'll mute you so they can't hear you, but I'll see you over there. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you all so much for coming today. Wow. So much fun for us nerds. There's probably people out there like, what are these nerds talking about? What is all this stuff? And oh, sorry. It's a good question, Seth, but I'll be with you in a minute. But there was some good questions in the chat. I'll be over there in a minute. So, sorry. Yes, everyone in the chat, thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you coming to the show, everyone. And please keep chiming in with any questions. We're gonna be back with some more episodes here on Gamers Unwind. You can check out Invite Sent coming out in the next few months. We're gonna be playing some games with people and having some fun, and maybe some other shows that I get to be on with some other educators. We will see. But thank you guys so much for coming to Gamers Unwind today. Have an amazing day. Stay awesome.